Alrighty, good evening, YouTube. Najim Zero here, back with another quick movie review. And this one's gonna be a doozy because they actually made a hold on. Pretty much like with Final Fantasy, it's two different versions. Well, Final Fantasy VII. Of course, I'm gonna review the next part of this one on a separate video, but this one's kind of another one of my favorites of the X-Men series. Is this one's X-Men Days of Future Past, and it was based on a two-issue storyline by Chris Claremont, I think in the 1970s. So in a funny way, it's pretty much like a Terminator, pretty much Terminator 2 plot line, as one joke had it. And going back to another review that I did of the movie Trancers, the Bad B movie, the one interesting plot device of time travel, of course, is sending a younger consciousness into a older consciousness into a younger body. So anyway, this movie stars Hugh Jackman, Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen, Halle Berry, uh, Omar Sy. Who else? I know I'm leaving off some people. Michael Fassbender, James McAvoy, Nicholas Hoult, Jennifer Lawrence. So it's pretty much as well as a send off of the original. Like, this is like the last movie, I believe, where we're gonna see most of the original X-Men cast interact. And it from like here on out, we'll just see all of the newer X-Men, or the newer cast. But the cool thing, there are like a lot of cool new characters in this, and as well as abilities. So, and pretty much what the story is that Sentinels had taken over the world. Best way I could explain it, it kind of goes in correlation with the comic book too, the two-issue storyline. So, um, in the comic book, what happens? I think it was Moira McTaggart, Senator Robert Kelly, and Professor X. They all get killed, and the government initiates a worldwide creation of Sentinels, and they booted up their programming to target every single mutant. But it works logically, and since the mutant gene does come from humans, mainly males, they all of a sudden started targeting humans, and it was three different classes of isolation that they did in the comic book storyline. You had the regular human beings, you had the human beings that had the ability to pass on a genetic mutation, and you had the mutants themselves, and the mutants had the worse off. And I think in that story, as well as in this movie, we first see those collars they put around their neck to disable their powers. And also we'll see them from here on out. They're in the Deadpool movies, of course, and they're in X-Men Apocalypse. Think they are. One form or another, I think they are. And of course, they're in Dark Phoenix, but we'll talk about that when we get to it. The funny thing is that it's kind of odd how they now chose to put the Sentinels in this movie and we really never see them again. Because if you watch the animated series and, of course, read the comics, they're really heavily a part of the lore. The funny thing, of course, is just that it took them that long to like upgrade their programming, but there are different stories where certain Sentinels are programmed. Nimrod is mainly like one of the super ones, and of course you had the one main Sentinel that was just making all the Sentinels. But pretty much this is just a time travel story, and it's very interesting how they do it. Again, I'm not going to get into much deep conversation on the differences. We can again talk about in the comments, because we can go on for days on the differences versus similarities. But I really did like this film. Again, it does have that historical context. The past is pretty much in like 1973 at the height of the Vietnam War, and Richard Nixon is actually a character interacting with other characters in the story. And the main villain of this, of course, is Peter Dinklage character, was Bolivar Trask. And the best way I can describe him, kind of like with Sebastian Shaw, except of course Kevin Bacon and that character was done a little bit better. He's pretty much a quiet menace. In this, he really doesn't like hate mutants. I think unlike the comic book, but he pretty much really wants to weaponize them and use them, and sounds like modern day slavery if you really think about it. That allegory um, on all of that. So you know, I know I was on. Now I'm trying to remember if I was going to talk about Kevin Bacon's villain a little bit because I kind of left it out of the first class review a little bit. Pretty much talking about how much of a Playboy Hugh Hefner kind of villain that he was, but with Peter Dinklage, he was more of a scientist. Um, the only character I can, or real life person I can say on myself is Robert Oppenheimer, the guy that made the atomic bomb. Except the only difference is that he didn't. Well, I think in this movie, Trask did kind of regret what he did because, since he did make the Sentinels to be like no metal, so Magneto couldn't control them. Magneto was still able to put metal inside of him and control him anyway. And then, of course, him colluding with communists at the end of the movie, they did lock him up. But I don't have that much to say about this story because my mind is blank a little bit and I am a tad bit tired. But like I said, we can talk about it in the comment box, and it's pretty much it. That's all I have to say. This was like the shortest one, like 6 minutes running. But I will talk to you guys later. Peace.